When it comes to the course and tournament information for the Travelers Championship, the first thing I like to do on all my preview videos, the first thing I like to do on most of the beginning of every week is go to the GCSAA, you can see that up here, .org, go to the tournament fact sheets, just to see how the tournament is set up, what kind of statistics come with this golf course. These are all data points you can use in your research. So you can see Travelers Championship, TPC River Highlands. My data goes back to 2013. Since 2013, this golf course has been in use for the Travelers Championship. So we have course history. Depending on how far back you want to go, I imagine this golf course has been used for a really long time, and especially for the Travelers Championship. This is in Cromwell, Connecticut. You can use the Northeast region of the United States as a research or a data point for research. By all means, do so. More often than not, you're going to hear the Keegan Bradley, narrative. He plays really good in the Northeast. This is obviously a Northeast golf course, so load up on all your Keegan Bradley lineups. But the things that I really care about really come down to the turf grass that you see right here. There's always this good information with course statistics. You can see how many, holes of water in play, the yardage of this golf course, the par. But for me, it always comes down to turf grass. So I want to see what the greens are. I want to see what the approaches are, what the rough is. And again, if you have a website that you like to go to use this as researching purposes, it's bent grass and POA on the greens, bent grass and POA on the collars, bent grass and POA on approaches. So basically, you can use bent grass and POA as your research tools, as your data points. Now, there's one other piece of information, and it really only applies to certain architects. This architect is Pete Dye. Pete Dye, I think you just put in your research regardless, because he creates golf courses that are unique, that certain golfers have either a good track record or a bad track record. Those that play it often understand kind of the nuances that Pete Dye creates in his golf courses. I would use that as a data point. I don't know which one is more important. To me, it's a coin flip between the architect and the turf grass. Now, personally, when you listen to some of the PGA Tour players, they talk about it being bent grass. They never refer to the POA on the greens or anything like that. So, and this goes back years. I think I've heard Kevin Streelman talk about it, and he's done pretty well here. He talks about it being bent grass. So I like to use bent grass, and you're going to see that in the cheat sheet, by the way. If you're watching the course and tournament information segment and you didn't hear what I said in the preview video about being able to use the cheat sheet, check the description of this video. This is my cheat sheet, and what I am using for grass stats are overall bent. So bent grass is the first kind of course fit grass that I'm using, and then I'm using Pete Dye results. And I think this is probably the best way to go about it. If you want to include POA in your, any of the sites that you use, by all means do so. It's just, I really limit it to 2. It makes life easy for me when it comes to updating the spreadsheet, every single week. So I'm using bent grass and Pete Dye. Basically average finishing positions. My data again goes back to 2013. So we have overall bent grass finishing positions, top 10 success rates. Then I'm also looking at 1 full year's worth of bent grass going back from this date to last year's date. And I'm also doing the same thing for Pete Dye. Again, goes back to 2013, overall average finishing position, top 10 success rates, and again, 1 full year's worth of Pete Dye finishes. So you can see that on the cheat sheet. That's how that's basically what I'm using in my research. Again, if you have POA that you can use, by all means do so. You can see some other additional notes here. I don't even know if it's that important. But if it does intrigue you or interest you in using for data points, then so be it. Do it. I don't know if there's a way you can get too narrow unless you were to bump up your weights on your models. So basically, I wouldn't, anything that's on this tournament fact sheet on your overall model, I wouldn't put anything more than 20 points. You know, if it's out of 100, I wouldn't put any more than 20. You could use course history, but I don't necessarily use course history, or I don't include course history with these tournament fact sheets or just with the golf course in general. So again, yeah, I would limit it. I wouldn't get like too hyper focused on it, but again, you can use it to your advantage. So I like to go over the tournament fact sheets. The other thing I like to do with the golf course is kind of just go over the golf course in general. And basically what I like to do is map it out to see, you know, which holes would benefit from hitting a draw versus what holes would benefit from hitting a fade. And the whole main purpose, because some people will look at this and go, no, that hole doesn't require a draw. It's like, I understand that. I trust me, I understand that. It's just, when it comes to scoring, like DraftKings scoring, if you want to win a DraftKings contest, you have to care about birdies and you have to care about eagles. What's the best opportunity to make a birdie on a particular golf hole or to get an eagle? And it's positioning yourself in the correct positions to do just that. Sometimes it requires a tee or a shot shape off of a tee to get you in a particular spot in the fairway, or, you know, just on the hole itself. That'll get you the best angle into the green to hopefully give you the best opportunity for birdie. So that's why I use shot shapes. Now, you can agree with me or disagree with me. It doesn't matter. Most of the time, you'll hear the same thing from the broadcast. Like, oh, you want to hit a draw into this hole, or you want to hit a fade into this hole. They don't have to. These PGA Tour pros are really good. They don't have to. But again, to try to narrow down on the best scoring opportunities, I like to go over shot shapes. And basically, I say all of that to then also say, doesn't really matter what shot shape you hit here. Looks like hitting a draw off the tee is probably more favorable, but then hitting fades into the green, especially the last couple holes here, probably the best way to do that. And again, this is all based off of a right-handed golfer. So this would be a right-handed draw. This would mean a left-handed fade. So you're aware. But yeah, I like to go here just to see if we can find any kind of just, you know, advantage to, you know, what type of shot shape really matters here. Now we can also look at, you know, the top 10 results or the results of the top 10 of every single year too, just to kind of get a little hint of what type of golfer, you know, finishes inside the top 10 at this event, or like you can also tell what kind of shot shape matters. So like Xander hits a draw primarily. I believe JT Poston does as well, but I think Theegala hits a fade. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he hits a fade. No idea what Thorbjornsen does. Hadley hits a fade. Mitchell hits a fade. Kisner hits a draw. Stallings, I think, does both, kind of. Harman's a lefty that hits a draw, so that'd be like a fade for us. Reavie hits a fade. I think McGirt hits a fade. Going to 2021, English basically hits both shot shapes, but he hits a tight little draw most of the time. I don't remember what Hickok does. Leishman hits a fade. Anser hits a fade. There's Kisner once again hitting a draw. Koepka hits a fade. Don't know what Lebioda does, but there's Harman once again with the draw. So it's a mix and match. Again, shot shape doesn't necessarily matter. One other thing we can get from here is the average winning score. So we see -19, -13, -17, -12, -16, -15. It looks like the mid-teens. You know, -15, -16 is a good data point to use. So basically what I would ask you to do if you were going to a site to look at which golfers do better on this type of scoring tournament, I'd plug in somewhere between -14 to -16 and see which golfers, or if you wanted to expand it a little bit more than that, actually keep it -14 and go up to -18. See which golfers do best in those winning tournament scores. And then furthermore, what you could do is come down here to the cut. I know you don't have access to this, but we can see it's even par here, -1 here, -2 here. Basically, you just take this number and go one less than that, because these are golfers that actually missed the cut. -1 in 2016, even in 2017, 2 under in 2018, 2 under in 2019. So it looks like it's like around 1 under, 2 under, something like that. Somewhere between even and 2 under. So that's another data point you can use when trying to figure out the golfers you want to select. So that basically covers the golf course. This is more into the tournament information. One last piece of information to provide is just the tournament itself. So basically, I like to look at strength of field rating. Now, this takes into account the OWGR, the current OWGR, although this needs to be updated. This is 1 week behind. And then the FedEx Cup rating or ranking from last year. That's how the old OWGR used to have their scoring system when it comes to strength of field. They also used a home course, boost for some of the golfers that are inside the top 10 of the FedEx leaderboard or standings. I don't include that in my strength of field, so that's why you're going to see this being a little bit different than other people's sites that continue to do the old strength of field rating. I've been pretty consistent with my strength of fields, so this is right up there. This is a very high strength of field, and that's primarily because it's an elevated event. Meaning, if you're for those one and done people, the winning, let me rephrase that. The winner's going to get $3.6 million. It's going to be around there. That's basically what all these elevated events are getting paid out. That's why we see such a high strength of field, especially following a US Open. So select the golfers you think are going to win the tournament. I know that's mostly what people do when it comes to these one and dones. But if you have a high name like a Xander or a Cantlay or even a Scheffler McIlroy, use those this week, because that way you get the most bang for your buck, especially if they win. You'd hate to miss out on like Rory winning this tournament, getting $3.6 million because you're waiting for another tournament or, any other of the golfers that are up at the top. There's no reason to wait anymore, especially and also understand where your league cuts off. The last week that they do the winner take all, or I'm sorry, the one and done. If it's at the Wyndham Championship, besides the British, I suppose the Genesis Scottish Open, I think might be. Say that, and I maybe don't. This might be the last week we have an elevated event. And if that's the case, the British Open's the only other time that you're going to see a golfer make over $1 million. Over $1.4 million. Otherwise, every single event after this is going to be 1.4, 1.5, 1.2, depending on, like the 3M Open might only get 1.2. The Rocket Mortgage Classic might only get 1.2 million. So don't save anybody. This is like one of the last big events. So go ahead and use up your guys. We have 156 golfers in the field. The cut's going to be top 65 in ties. So use all of that as data points when doing your research. That's going to cover the course and tournament information. I got nothing else to say about the Travelers Championship.